Hey guys, Mr. MJ101 Alt here, and welcome to my Wolfman 2 commentary. So basically in this commentary I'm going to be going over, just overall things about the production and how I filmed certain scenes and stuff like that. Sorry about my chair. So anyways, let's get this started right. 3, 2, 1, now. Did that for syncing. Anyways, this is the first scene that we shot. Actually, we shot out of order pretty badly. I mean, it's probably the most out of order I've ever shot, but this was definitely the first scene we shot. This was originally supposed to be a flash forward, but then I decided that it was it was more of it was a flash forward in a sense that, something like that happens in the end of the movie, but I didn't want to make it the exact, what happens in the end. That's why the ending scene is a little bit different compared to that first scene. But they were both pretty cool. Obviously, if we did the first scene, well, actually, no, I didn't think about it until now. But another reason why I changed it up is because Matt wasn't able to film the last scene, and I'll talk about that once we get there. But that was, I mean, if we did not get all of the stuff filmed, like if we would have done it like the way it was in the first scene, where he sort of chases after Wolfman, he's going to run him into the woods, the production basically would have been done. I wouldn't have been able to finish the movie because we couldn't have finished the last scene. So, thank God I did it the other way. Otherwise, I would have never been able to finish Wolfman 2, and that would have been really bad. But this is one of those backstory sequences. No, I did not write anything in that journal. It was just a bunch of scribbly lines. Fun fact, that was actually my notebook that I had to use for English in 7th grade. So, a little fun fact there. You'll see, we had to do this timetable thing, and you'll see, when I close it, you'll see like a little clock in the back of the notebook, and some of my classmates realized that. They're like, hey, I remember that. And yeah, that was the book I used for 7th grade, so fun fact right there. So yeah, that ending sequence, it was it was almost something I decided. Wait, there it is. You can see the clock. So that ending sequence was something I decided upon right at the end, like how I was gonna film it. Like after I did the flash forward and I did all the other scenes and I got to the end, I was like, Matt, you know what? We're not gonna continue with that. We have so little battery. I have a different idea, and I think this one will make more sense. Plus, it won't, be showing the ending right away in the beginning. And I can use that beginning shot for trailers. So, it was a combination of not having enough battery and making more sense, and the trailer, well, not necessarily, the trailers I wasn't even thinking about, but it made more sense and it was better for the battery. That's why I decided to have Matt go to the high ground in the ending sequence instead of chasing after Wolfman, like it shows in the beginning flash forward. I don't really know if you can consider it a flash forward since it's not really what happens in the end. I don't know what you'd consider it. Again, it was just something I thought looked cool, and I thought it'd be like I thought it'd be cool to show a little bit of the end, without showing what actually happens in the end sequence. But anyways, I've been discussing that first scene way too much. It was honestly, the first scene was one of the most interesting things, I guess, just because of how it was supposed to be a flash forward and what it ended up being. And since I had to switch up the thing because of battery and because, honestly, Matt chasing Wolfman in the woods in a fit of rage would have made sense, but he's a detective. He keeps his head. He probably wouldn't have gotten that hot-headed. It wouldn't have made sense for the character, so a couple of different reasons why that ending scene got changed. Anyways, that's way too much in the first scene. The one we saw out there where I was outside, that was the first outside shot, where it was just myself that I shot, and it was very cold that day. Like, I got frostbite. No, I didn't, but I thought I was going to because it was really bad, really cold. I love this scene right here with the wolf owl while I'm sleeping. I think I filmed that by myself. Yeah, I did. But there's a different scene where I had my dad help me film it. And here's another one of those phone scenes. So yeah, that scene where I go and I think I see Wolfman and I chase after him. That scene we just saw a little bit before. So cold out that day. That was probably the least fun thing to film. It had to have been, just because of how cold it was. I hated it. And also, when we get to the next scene, I'll tell you about it. But there were people walking by through the shot, so I had to wait for them in the cold, and it was just terrible. Just terrible. Also, I should mention now while the phone's going, if you have any further questions, because I'm trying to explain as much as possible here. Oh, should say something then. All these phone sequences. Here we go. This was shot on the same day as the scene before, and it was really cold. And people in that one shot that you just saw were walking by, and it was so cold I had to wait for them to pass, and it really sucked. And my hands were red. You might be able to see it. Might be able to see my hands. Yeah, you can see that they're pretty red. But if you have any further questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Because the whole point of this commentary is I'm trying to answer pretty much all questions while talking about production. And that's why I spent so much time on that first scene, because it's so complex and it's just a first scene. I mean, to explain it in simple terms is kind of hard, but I hope I answered it completely. Oh, here's the scene with my mom. This was kind of a late addition. She wanted to be in the movie, and I thought, I could work her and my dad in somehow, in that, and that worked out pretty well. It fit pretty well in the story, so. And it's a pretty funny scene too. I really like the scene and the scene with my dad. They're pretty funny. With a couple references too. Oh man, I don't know why I still have that first scene on my mind. Let's put it to rest right now. First scene, supposed to be a flash forward, ended up being more of a showing of what could happen at the end, but what really didn't happen. If that makes sense. And then once you get to the ending sequence, Ace Ventura, that was my dad's idea. Should mention that. The Ace Ventura thing, that was my dad's idea. So, it was pretty funny. I'm like, yeah, we got to do that now that you said that. So yeah, basically first scene, flash forward, that shows, one of the things that could have happened. The ending is what actually happened. So the first scenes, it's basically what could have happened. One of the ways the ending scene could have played out. I actually had love this scene right here, by the way, at the cemetery. Cemetery, we did not. It had the most snow. I was expecting there to be more snow when we filmed, but it was all cleared up when we started filming. Oh, background music is from Batman Arkham City. That's in the credits. But I really love this cemetery scene. Probably one of the most emotional scene. I'm not one for emotional scenes. Probably the most emotional scene I've ever done in a movie. And I really hated the shot before where it looked like I was smiling at the end. Hope nobody noticed that, but God, I kind of ticked off that I did it. It still looks pretty good. I mean, Matt almost smiles a little bit in the very first scene when he walks out the door. But really, it's just it doesn't even have to necessarily be considered a smile. Maybe I was just breathing. Running out of breath running up that snow, because you didn't get to see it, but the cemetery was literally like knee deep in snow. Well, you can you can see what I'm running. It's really bad. And here, you can see in the bloopers, I wasn't sure what to do when I walked up to the grave. And that grave is just somebody's random grave, and I told Matt to, keep the name out of the shot. And I love this scene. Matt timed it perfectly. I walk by, and then that's Matt playing Wolfman right there. And then he walks out and pokes the mask out. Perfect. Could not have been executed any better. I was surprised at how well we got that. And that was the first take, I think. I think that was only a one-take shot. So, I really I really love that scene. Surprised at how well we did it.
First, I tried a new tactic on the
Oh, I sort of got off on a tangent there with the memorial. I was gonna go back to the first scene again. My God, one of the original ideas I had for Wolfman 2 was have it be an interactive thing, where like it would get to a certain part in the story, and then you could choose like do this or do this, and then it would play out different scenes. I'm trying to think of a game I can compare it to.
Heart of the woods, the heart of the woods.
I'm not really sure,
I'm not sure how it's
but
gonna go, but hopefully it goes well.
basically it would be an
Because
interactive
it'll also
thing
mention that I'll be
where there'd
streaming
be
lights on
plenty, plenty, plenty of possibilities on how the story could end up, and you'd have to play through it several times to see how many ways the story ended up. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, that'd be cool, but not cool for a movie for how long this movie is, 25 minutes. I think it'd be a lot cooler. uh, excuse me, I had a schnazzle. I thought it would have been a lot cooler to do that for a Lego movie. So I'm still keeping that idea. I might do that for like a Lego movie. I've seen it done before. But I was planning to do that with Wolfman too, and at the end I was like, no, that's not a good idea. I mean, it'd be cool, but for a movie, for how long this movie is, and the fact that the possibility of a third movie is still open, it would not make sense to make it so interactive. Because then it would basically turn into a video game, because then I'd have to, lead in your previous choices from Wolfman 2 into the third movie, and then the third movie would have to be interactive as well, if I make one. Which I'll get to at the end. So that's sort of why I stopped it. So that's also another thing in the first scene. It's sort of a nod to that original idea. Well, it wasn't. I didn't plan it out that way. I just sort of thought of it now. Like, holy crap! I mean, that's really. It's not a nod to it, but it's sort of weird how that plays out. Like, it's kind of a coincidence that first scene shows, kind of in a way, like what could have happened if I made it that interactive story. Like, maybe that first scene could have been one of the ways the ending played out compared to the way the actual ending is in this movie. So I didn't even think about that till now. That's actually pretty cool. Kind of a weird coincidence. Another wolf scream. Turns out that the other one where it was the other scene where I was in bed and then the wolf screamed, that's the one that my dad helped me film. I needed him to turn on the camera and turn off the lights. So, to save film. Because it'd be annoying. Like, the new film I'm shooting right now was really annoying because every scene would be like 15 seconds long, but there'd be like a minute 30 seconds of excess footage, where it was just me getting set up, and that was really annoying, really annoying. And then that's why I had my dad. He came in to say goodnight, so I'm like, hey, can you help me with this? And then that scene that could have had like 20 seconds of extra footage was only like this straight up 8 seconds, which isn't much, but it just makes it easier to edit. So that's why Adam helped me with it. But yeah, that's kind of cool now that I think of it that way. That first scene sort of shows the way the movie could have been. And that I didn't intentionally do that. That was just a complete accident. I mean, yeah, a coincidence. I mean, the first scene, I already explained it, was just supposed to be one of the things that could have happened in the end. And it's supposed to be a sort of a preview of the end, but not exactly what happened, because I don't want to show it in the beginning. So there you go. I just worded it perfectly. But now that I think of it, that's really cool, though. That, in a way, I could still do that interactive thing if I wanted to. Well, no, I couldn't. That would be stupid, but it shows how it could have ended up. Like, one ending where Matt ends up in a fit of rage, your decisions could have led up to that. Maybe there's like 5 different endings. I just realized, though, that interactive thing would have been annoying to shoot. But here's the woods sequence, which I decided to do first-person filming. And I added the Call of Duty 4 music in the background because I thought it fit perfectly. And I really love this woods scene. I always wanted to shoot in the woods, and this is, well, I've filmed in the woods before, but I've actually filmed in the woods with Matt before. And I have never released anything. Like, we had never really done a production in the woods. And I thought the woods by my house was really cool. So I was glad that I finally got to film something out here. And with Matt, and he helped with some of the filming and all that. And the woods sequence is my favorite in the movie. I mean, this is the very, very middle of the movie. And this is my favorite sequence. I mean, there's a lot of sequences I like in the movie, but this one didn't have as many chase sequences with the Wolfman as the first one. Like, this movie is a lot more about James, whereas the first one was more about Wolfman. Do you agree with me on that? Like, the first one had some backstory, but really it's all about the Wolfman chase when you look at the first one. I mean, even the ending is focused on Wolfman. I mean, he dies, but he disappears, so is Wolfman going to come back? Not too many people might notice this. Look at the far right here, and you can see me squatting down. That was intentional. So if you might not have noticed that when you first watched it, I am in this scene to the far right. And you could just see me move to another tree right there. Really cool scene, really subtle. I wanted to put it there for some people to notice, but I knew not everybody would notice it. I just wanted to be one of those cool little things. Love this shot right here where Matt flips the pistol. I think it took us 2 takes. Well, he just handed it to me the first take, but it took him only 1 take to flip it. Really cool. It was honestly like Call of Duty or something, like like just one of those, random things in the campaign, where somebody could just hand you a pistol. It's just a video game thing. Somebody could hand you a pistol, but no, they gotta flip you the pistol to hand it to you. Just to make it look cool. And I have the Bioshock music in the background right here. I thought that fit perfectly, synced it perfectly in this scene. Like right here where it's like, dun, 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 and then Matt turns around and it's like, dun, dun. Love how well synced that is. One of my favorite scenes right here, actually. And like I said, there's not as much Wolfman in this movie. I mean, he only shows up, well, he's in the first scene. But when the real movie starts, decided to go black and white right here. I'll talk about Wolfman in a minute. Decided to go black and white right here, but I thought it made the scene, sort of connect when James's dad died, if that makes sense. It made those 2 scenes kind of connect, if you see what I'm saying. I show the black and white flashback sequences when James' dad dies. Well, now when James dies, it's black and white. And, I decided to put that as a little connection. Also put it just to show that he's dying. I mean, the connection thing's kind of stupid. I don't know what I'm talking about, but the real reason I added in the black and white was just to add to the effect. Just an aesthetic thing. The connection thing with his dad's death, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting how James' dad died, and I turned the scene to black and white. And then when James dies, he turns to black and white. To show, like, oh, something's gonna happen. So it's sort of an indicator, too. Like, something's gonna happen. Also, this letter here was a last-second decision. It was supposed to be right here, it was supposed to be an email that, and here is Sam Marlowe's final appearance. That email was that document was supposed to be an email that James was going to send out to Matt, but never got to. When James died, Matt went through his personal files to find anything, and he found that thing about Sam Marlowe, and he basically left a text on Sam Marlowe's machine telling him to come over and look at that mail. And Matt, by the time Sam got over, Matt had already went out hunting for Wolfman. So I didn't want to explain all that. I felt that was kind of, you don't need that. I don't need to explain all that. So I just decided to show the letter, show that Matt had gone, showed that Sam had gotten there. And then here's the final sequence, the final shootout between Matt, which it was my dad up there because we ran out of battery, so I had to, and Matt had moved out by the time we filmed this final scene, so I had my dad. My dad was playing Matt, and that's why you only see his legs. There was no other way I could have done it, so I had to make it look decent. I didn't want it to look stupid, and I had to. It was really difficult because I had to make it look decent, but it couldn't look too stupid. But it, obviously I couldn't make it look good because of what I had to work with, so that was kind of difficult. I was going to do a little bit more with it if I had Matt film this final scene, but I'm happy with the way it turned out. And this is the most of Wolfman, and here the music changes as he gets shot. Love this scene. And in the bloopers, you see me breaking the gun. And when up here, when Matt shoots the gun, boom, that is something I added in. Once I broke the gun while waiting for the train to go by, I was like, hey, I can use that in the movie. So that was just a coincidence, and I thought that was a really cool scene, so I'm thankful that I was screwing around and ended up breaking the barrel of my gun, because it worked out perfectly. And I love when Wolfman falls here and the music just suddenly turns dim. It's almost like a sad moment, but it's Wolfman. And I really like that sequence. It's kind of like, and you notice I use the Batman Arkham City music again. Also, I have the Bioshock Infinite I'm gonna say Bee Gees, Beach Boys cover in the credits because I thought it worked out really well with my message at the end, and I thought it was a really cool credits song to play after this long 20-minute monstrous movie. Is that the right word to use? Let's go with that. Monstrous movie. So going back to Wolfman, I was going to talk about that earlier, but I never really got to. Yeah, he didn't show up in this movie too much. You could tell watching this one and the second one that this one is a lot more focused on James and the characters surrounding James than Wolfman. But Wolfman is still in it enough to keep it interesting, and there's still the hauntings, like the howls. You see him at the cemetery. There's little hints of him all throughout the story sequences until it gets real at the woods. And then the final showdown. I mean, this movie really picks up, I think, around the interviews. The first 6 minutes is, just story stuff, but around the interviews is when it starts to really get good. And then there's the cemetery scene after that, and a little bit more interviews. The thing that happens at night where James is getting haunted, and then the next day he goes outside into the woods. So that's where it really picks up, in my opinion. Possibility of a third movie, and I'm talking about this because the sequence at the end after the credits, that was a last minute decision. I thought, you know what? I want this second movie to be the end at the moment. But if I ever want to make a third movie, I better keep my options open so that when that third movie comes out, I don't have to explain everything and make it seem kind of cheap, if that makes sense. Like, have to add in a cheap explanation. That is why I added in the final scene that you'll see in a minute. And I'm not going to tell you what happens in the final scene. It's completely up to your interpretation at this moment. The ending of this movie is the ending of this movie, but after the credits, it's completely up to your interpretation to what happened there. It's pretty clear what's going on, but what happened, like I said, it's completely up to your interpretation. I'm not going to talk any more about it. I'm not going to go in depth about it. All I'm going to say is that this final scene, it's all up to you what happens at this moment. And I will tell you right now, hopes for a third movie, if I film it, it will be summer this year. If you do not see a Wolfman 3 by September this year, then there will be no Wolfman 3. Then, this ending sequence right here, it is not up to your interpretation. It is clear what happens. Well, really, it still is up to your interpretation. I mean, this ending sequence can go several different ways. And I just don't want to talk about it too much. But if I don't make the third movie, if I don't make it, it's still up to your interpretation. I said that wrong. If I don't make it, it's still up to your interpretation. But if I do make it, then obviously in the third movie, it'll explain what's going on here. But until I make that third movie, or if I don't, this ending right here is completely up to your interpretation, and that's why I added it in. Well, I didn't add it in to make things confusing. Like, I'm kind of making it sound like I added it in to keep my options open, just in case I want to make that third movie. That I have this little scene that I can use in the third movie for explanation, for whatever reason. Again, don't want to talk too much about it, but I thought this was a pretty cool scene. And, I mean, a lot of movies have sequences after the credits. And I thought, I'd add one in, just to keep the options open, in case I want to make that third movie. I think I covered everything. Again, if you have any questions, put it in the comments. I can't really think of anything else that I haven't covered. I mean, I've pretty much went over every scene. Again, any questions, just let me know. I thought I did a pretty decent job. I mean, I spent like 20 minutes discussing the first scene, but besides that, I think I did a pretty good job at explaining everything. What does this mean? Well, thanks for watching. Anyways, see you guys later. As it says right there, thanks for watching. And again, any questions, just leave them in the comments, and I will answer them. See you next time.